Oh, hi! Welcome back. Video number 10, Jared Morrison here. I'm going to jump right to it because this one's going to be long. I'm going to read you some of what I've been writing since we started this whole thing, and it helped me stay on track, so I hope you don't mind me reading. So, here we go. When we started this thing, I really had no idea what I was going to possibly talk about for 10 videos. It was just suggested to me that I put myself out there, so here I am, putting it out there. I'm a big fan of saying yes when given a challenge. So, I started out by saying I would talk about goal setting and achievement sort of from the ground floor up, not because I'm any sort of an expert in this field, far from it. What and who I am is a guy who 18 months ago had reached a crossroads and something had to give. What I was hoping at the time was not to be a guy who all of a sudden started picking up the pieces. In fact, I thought I was making it pretty clear to the universe via my actions that I was just ready to go. With every new thing that was lost or taken away, rather than spur any resolve, it just made me think, at least that's one less thing to worry about. And then the breaking point came, and as I said a few videos ago, I was compelled to make a phone call. And in the days and weeks that followed, as it became clear the universe was not going to let me have my way, I had to start figuring out what I was going to do, how I was going to live a life that I hardly wanted. So if I've talked about anything in these videos, it's been a microcosm of some of the steps I've employed to arrive at a place where I not only want this, but I find myself grateful for it. And that may sound odd or disingenuous, but it's the truth. It took a long time to get there. But I'm not an expert, and people keep telling me not to say things like that if I want to go about this career of writing and speaking about my experience. They say people listen to or read the words of someone like me because they want answers. But the thing is, when things changed last February, everything had to change. And one of the most fundamental of those things was something one of my mentors said to me at the time. They said, Jared, I know that you know how to say something 8 different ways depending on who's listening so that you can tell the truth without ever having to be honest. And everything started there. So while you might not get perfect or even pretend wisdom from me, what you will get is honesty, for better or for worse, and I have to do it that way. And what's honest is that despite the endless positive changes over the last year and a half, there are still times where I feel like I am absolutely nowhere. I don't see the progress. Rationally, I know it's there, but it gets blocked out by those voices of self-doubt and defeat. And some days I just see the wreckage from all the damage I created. I worry that at any moment I'm going to slip back into the person that I used to be, let old habits and old ways of thinking take over, and then it's only a matter of time before I'm saying to the universe, what do you want from me? Give this to somebody else. Somebody who wants this more and deserves this more. And it gives me shudders to think about that now, but again, it's the honest truth. So every once in a while, I still deceive myself now, as I did back then. Beat myself down and tell myself that I haven't changed. And then something like this happens. In the midst of making these videos, my daughter made me a gift for Father's Day. She made it at school, and it's one of these fill-in-the-blank kind of thing, with the first paragraph saying, my dad is blank. He is blank and blank, but most of all, he is blank. And before I tell you what she wrote, the thing is, God only knows what she would have written a couple of years ago. For most of the first years of her life, we were essentially strangers to each other. We lived in the same house, but I didn't want a lot to do with her, and she seemed to feel the same. Beyond those initial years, though, you know how I was just talking about those lies we tell to ourselves? Well, there was a time when I started to believe that the greatest kindness I could offer her and everyone else was to leave them alone. And I think you know what I mean by that. I honestly believed it, and nobody could have ever convinced me back then of anything otherwise. But you want to know what she wrote? My dad is kind. He is happy and he is awesome. But most of all, he cares about me. And that blew my mind reading that she believes that about me. And the thing is though, I'm finally in a place where I can actually accept that there might be some truth to it. So I realized something after reading that. Just as there was no way anyone could have convinced me that those kids wouldn't have been better off without me around, I know now there is no way they would be. Nobody can tell me that this little girl would have been better off when this little grade 2 project was passed around saying my dad is not here. I don't know who my dad was. So I'm sharing this with you not because of some vain self-congratulatory attempt, but because if you have ever felt the way I used to feel, I am telling you, I promise you, there is someone out there, and probably more accurately, many people out there who feel this way about you. I know that pain, those voices inside that as quickly as I just said that to you are trying to tell you that it's not true. That may be true for you, Jared, but you don't know what I've done. You don't know the damage I've caused. And that's okay, because I'm not asking you to believe right now. What I would ask is that if you sat through all these videos, if you looked at this tiny snapshot of my life and said anything to the effect of, I wish I could get to where you are, I wish I could believe as you believe, what I would ask is just to know that I started exactly where you are. I didn't know how to deal with the next 10 minutes in front of me, let alone the next week or the next year. I didn't know how any of this was going to get fixed. I certainly didn't believe I could be happy and kind. Please know I started where you are, and know that you can get here too. We so often don't recognize the most significant moments of our lives as they're happening right in front of us. I didn't know that February morning was where I was going to make my beginning. It took me 3 or 4 days just to take a shower, let alone take stock of my life. And it started with a phone call. It started by actually being honest instead of just telling the bare level of truth. It started by being willing to believe, even if I didn't actually believe quite yet. So do me a favor. When this is done, instead of scrolling to the next thing in your feed, take your first step towards belief. Make the phone call you've been needing to make. Write the letter you've been wanting to write. Say the things that have gone unsaid because of whatever fear or doubt has been holding you back. Find the person out there who believes these things about you and let them come in. Give them the chance to say to you the things my daughter almost didn't get a chance to say to me. Be willing to believe, and we'll stand waiting until you get here. Thank you for everything. Talk soon.